Yeah, so there's in the 3 weeks, there's Shavuos B'Tanz and there's Tisha B'Av. So the one of the things that we're missing, is the Seder HaAvodah, but that already went out on Shavuos B'Tammuz. That's when the Butal Atamid, they stopped the sacrificial order, stopped then. And of course, that is a terrible tragedy in its own right because you don't have the kapara of the korbanos. The Rishonim tell us that when it's al pi Chazal, but the Rishonim all bring it that at the time that a person brought a korban, korban chatz, he viewed that whatever was being done to the behemoth was being done to him, shechted and burnt, and it was instead of him. So now not having that anymore, so that's why Tisha B'Av, the 3 weeks we also mark all the other tragedies that happened to us throughout the ages because it's a direct result. Because if you don't have the kapara of korbanos, you're going to have human sacrifice because that was instead of us. And that's why it's not a coincidence that, all the tragedies throughout the ages are mourned during the 3 weeks and Tisha B'Av, because it's all derivative from that. Because not having, that's what we say at the end of Dayenu. Ubalan was based on Bchira Lechaper Kol Avonosenu. It's like considered to be the biggest chesed after counting up, and he gave us that. And the capstone was Lechaper Kol Avonosenu. But the already lacking the kapora was we had that already from Shavuos or B'Tammuz, and then so it means Tisha B'Av is weiter. Something beyond Bittul Seder Avodah. So that's how Ben HaMitzorim starts. But there's something about the Beis HaMikdash that makes it much, much worse. Right? So now there's a Gemara that says, "Kol mi," it says in the positive and negative, "Kol mi sheyesh bo das kilu nivne Beis HaMikdash biyamav. Kol mi she'ein bo das l'sof goyle mimkoimai." Gemara is two members Chazal right next to each other. It's Gemara Brachas Taf Lamed Gimel. It's also, I believe, in Perek Chelik Daf Tzadi Beis or Tzadi Daled. Right, so it's the das. So if you have das, it's like you have a Beis HaMikdash. If you don't have das, you're inevitably going to go into Gos. It has to do with das, of course. Now, if you go through the sugyas of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, you see that there's a very interesting common denominator. No one's thinking.
Right now?
Oh, no, that in that.
Time of the Gemara.
Oh,
Time of the
about
Gemara.
no one's thinking.
No, it's like that. Say Pshita, no one's saying. I'll tell you about even back then.
Mm-hmm.
Even back then, it starts with Rav Schar ben of Kilas. They get criticized on different levels by Chazal. They call it Amvitanus of Schar ben of Kilas. So they didn't know what to do with Barka. Should they bring it to the Mizbeach? Yomru Balmum Karvam Mizbeach, right? Kill Bar Kamsa because he's a Moiser. Yomru Matu Bekochim Yehoreg. And so Gemara seemingly is criticizing Rav Yochanan said, Avitanuso. So Rav Schar was Hechirvas Beisenu, Vesarfas Lenu, Viglisinu Ben Umos. Right? So then what's the next story right after that? Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. And so there's a story in between. Marta bat Baisus, her slave, she's a rich woman, she's hungry. Go buy me bread. Comes back, the best stuff is sold out, you want buy me that. Well, comes back. That stuff is sold out. Both of them are not thinking, right? Says buy whatever there is. Went back, that got sold. Went back, until everything got sold out. She's not thinking, right? And her servant's not thinking, right? Right? And then you come to the story of Yochanan ben Zakkai. Over there, Chazal are a bit more, they're harsher with him than they were with Rav Schar ben Avkulas, right? He got out of the walls, he meets Aspasianus, and Aspasianus, he said, why don't you come until now? Well, the Biryanim they didn't let me out. So Aspasianus said, Mashal, there's a barrel of honey, but there's a snake around it. So if the snake's not going to let me have it, I'm just going to break the barrel. Alluding to if the Biryanim are not letting the good people out of Yerushalayim and not letting me have it, I'm going to break Yerushalayim. All right, so the Gemara says, applies what? Meishiv chachamim achor v'da'atam yisachel. Kodesh Baruch Hu reverses the chachamim and he takes away their da'as. He could have answered, no, that's not what you do. You don't break the barrel. You take a pair of tongs, you take off the snake, and you save the barrel. All right? And Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai just, that came up again later in the dialogue.
He blanked out.
He blanked out. It says it blanked out over there. It's like, and then there's two Shas Gemara whether he also blanked out now. And that dialogue between them came up later. Said, he asked him later down in that dog again. Why don't you come? He said, I told you, Biryonim. All right, so I told you also what I'm going to do, and when Kippur said he still didn't think of that rhetoric. I mean, you just take the tongs and. Then there's a machlekes, two Lashons of Gemara when he said, saying that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai called it right, and he got declared king, and he was going back to Rome and sending Titus instead, right? So he said, you could ask one thing. All right, so he asked for, 10 the Av Chachameh, and Hirub Tzadok, and the family of Rabbi Gamliel, that they should. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Kippur said, Meishiv Chacham, the same pasuk. He should have asked for Yerushalayim. Said, listen, just walk away from this fight. Leave us alone this time. But the Gemara is Malamed Tzchos that maybe he thought if he asked for a big thing like that, he wouldn't have gotten it. But there's a Lashon Gemara that condemns him, in the same Lashon as the first thing. It's like amazing, like a whole. It's like there's a trend. There's a trend.
Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. So very. That and this is what brought on the Churban Abayis, right? So there's a. So the question is, what's Das and what's a Beis Hamikdash, right? There's a. Now Das is not. People misunderstand. Das is not a synonym for Chachma and Bina. Chachma and Bina are certain types of mental processes, like Chachma, what you hear from your Rebbe. Bina is what you figure out. Mevin Dover, Mitoch Dover. Das is neither. I mean, it has elements of both, but it's neither. When you say a cotton is not a bar das, a cotton's not a bar das. Why? Kids are very smart. Jewish kids are very smart. Vilna Gaon at the age of 6 already, no one could teach him Torah. It's still not a bar das. Das must mean something else. Something else that, even no matter how smart you are, can only come with kids. Now, the other people, the other two that are called Lavdei Das, there's a famous Chashu, Cheresh Shoita V'Katan, right? The Shoita, if you look at the Chazal, the Simonim of a Shoita.
Like a London picks of the forest.
That's right. He's not stupid. He's crazy.
Right.
Something else. He's crazy. All right? It's called, in politically correct terms, reality challenged. Right? Right? So, my Rebbe Nachum Lansky told me in the name of Rav Hutner. Rav Hutner used to give a mashal for a lav bardas, right? That a guy comes, there's like a terrible tragedy, and a young avrech, dies and leaves a young almana and little kids, and sad story. And then they're sitting shiva, and the lights are dim, and you could feel the avelus in the air. You feel it's like the air is thick with the depression. Palpable. That's right. And then in walks a guy, in Hawaiian shirt, Bermuda shorts, Ray-Bans. And he says, come on, it's so dark in here. Let's turn on the lights. Why is everyone so glum? That's bad. That's bad. Yeah. Glum is bad. Mitzvah gadol, lios besimcha, right? And, and also, gamzu latova, right? It's a gamzu latova, right? So if God killed him, it must be the best thing for him. And he's in a better place now. You know what? If he's in hell, let's say he's in hell, I knew the guy. He wasn't much good. Hell is good for him. He needs hell, and it's going to be his, tikkun, right? Right.
Sounds like that's the type of thing I would do.
Sounds like a guy you want to take out back with a baseball bat.
Right. Do you say sheker?
It's not sheker.
It's not sheker, but it's just not the right thing to say in those circumstances. He's disconnected. And Chazal talk about an amazing thing. Talmid Chacham Shem Bo Das Nevela Tova Imenu. But he's called Talmid Chacham by Chazal standards. That's Kol Sheb Baki b'Maseches Kala. Even in those brises, he could tell you. Ask him on those brises in the back of Maseches Avodah Zarah. He could tell you Maseches Kala. Ask him anywhere. But it's called Ein Bo Das. Right. Das means like Adam Yadas Chazal, to be connected. Right, to be in touch with the situation. Right, be in touch.
Being in touch.
Being connected. And only if you're connected, you know how to. There's also shikul hadas. You will properly weigh out the factors, but you have to be in touch to know which is more to prioritize than what. Whatever. The president said an expletive about Haiti. I don't know. It's gone crazy. It was in the news for like 5 days straight. You know, that's not Das. You know that.
Right.
You know, about a place everyone runs away from, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's what we're going to get to. How the situation is getting increasingly worse, right? But that's called lack of das. That you're out of touch with reality, and also maybe you don't know how to weigh the factors correctly. And that's the pshat, by the way. Why a cotton, no matter how eluish he is, he's not a bar das until he started. Because only certain things there are certain things that come with maturity. No matter how bright he has to have a certain level of maturity and life experience. These bright kids, they could sell their parents for like 5 cents or something like that. And that's what the Beis Hamikdash represented. When the Beis Hamikdash stood on earth, right? So a person didn't just hear, from his Rebbe, there's a God, there's a God, there's a God. So first of all, you go to the Beis Hamikdash and see it, Liros Pnei Adon, but it had a certain effect. It's called Simchas Beis Sheva Shemasham Shoavim Ruach HaKodesh. So even if a person wasn't zochet to see the Shechina of the Beis Hamikdash, it kept the universes, the lower connected. There was a real channel open, a real channel open, right? And it had a spillover effect. People were like real with the fact that there's a God. There's real with what the meaning of life is and what's really, really important, right? And it goes the other way also. Kol misha bo das l'sof golem imkomo. So the Maral explains das keeps us anchored. It's our anchor to reality. He says a lot of Rishonim also says you have to view a person as the upside down tree. The head is the roots. Your head is your roots in reality. You have no das. You're disconnected. Inevitably, you're going to lose your position because you're not connected. But it's an amazing thing. The Rambam writes in the Moreh Nevuchim, hashgacha is a sliding scale, right? We know tzaddikim have tremendous hashgacha pratis on them that even their behemoths don't do an avera. Right, that's right. Right, and then you have such a thing as the Rishayim, that are the Hakadosh Baruch Hu abandons them to be open to be hit by a bus like a dog. So the Rambam says very interesting yesod, and there's a Rambam Moreh Nevuchim. It's all totally in the midah of das. Das is the more you think about Hakadosh Baruch Hu, midah keneged midah, he's thinking about you. Right? So that's why everyone has his own unique level of hashgacha, all totally in his das. To the extent that you have your mind on him, he has his mind on you, midah keneged midah. Right?
And you increase your hashgacha practice by thinking about Hashem more.
That's right. So the more that he's central.
The hashgacha pratis, is that necessarily a good thing?
Oh, because even if you get punished, but you get punished by him, and as opposed to him giving your din over to Sitra Achra, who knows no mercy. That's what I said. Nifar b'yad Hashem, b'yad Adam al Pola. That's also the whole school of vidui. The Ramak writes that with vidui, by confessing to Hashem, says, all right, I'll take your file. You want to deny? I give your file to the Son. Right? You want me to judge you, not the Son. Right? So that's a school of vidui that Hakadosh Baruch Hu takes your file. Right? Yeah. So the so das is the midah of connection. There's like even connection between us and him. And that's what the Beis Hamikdash. That's why it's keneged das. So when Hakadosh Baruch Hu is going to be machriv his bias, it affects the cosmic das. Right? There's already a gzeira. Right? There's already a gzeira. The bias is going to be nechrav. Right? So so the midah of connection has been broken. So it's like bad reception. Right? And that's saying that there was silu kadas, besod kol sheish bo ein bo das l'sof golem imkomo. Right? Right? And it happens over and over again. We can't judge, but before the Holocaust, the Chafetz Chaim predicted the Holocaust. He told it's recorded. It's recorded. He told the Panovich to get out of Europe quick. It's a different Hitler Hitler was also, he was pretty loud and vocal about his intentions. People just didn't move. People, there wasn't mass hysteria to immigrate. It was pretty powerful. I was told by someone that that in Eretz Yisrael, They were davening, for the Yidden in Europe with tears in their eyes, more than Yidden in Europe were davening for themselves if Hitler hadn't mamish arrived yet. It's like a tremendous, like some type of, it's a very weird thing.
What did the Chavetz Chaim, did he attribute it to something, or he just was reading the tea leaves?
I don't know if someone once told me that he said it was Shabbos is not Michael, Shmira Shabbos, but from one source, Rabbi Katz from Hicksville Road told me that, but that that people they had told people they thought it was going senile when he could tell you, I'll tell you, we're in big danger. It's going to be a bloodbath. He died in 1933, so it wasn't right next to. But it's looking back, he definitely spoke about it. Yeah, my father is from Germany. Got out on the last boat, and the only reason why he got out on the last boat was because when he was like a 3-year-old, he was a family sent him on an errand, and one of the Hitler youth had his German Shepherd on him, and he was almost eaten alive. He hung between life and death for 3 days. And that's when the penny dropped to say to get out of Germany. I asked him, what were people thinking? So I honestly thought that he meant the Polish Jews, because the Eckers didn't like the Polish Jews either. He was just talking about the Ostjuden, the ones from the East. They really, people just didn't. When the Gzera is Nigzar, when the Gzera is Nigzar, it's already, the Das immediately gets affected, right? And you become apathetic. Right? Something Me'ain this is the Baal Ber Maim Chaim as a sefer he wrote, Shara Tefillah, which he wrote at the end of his life. He sent it from Eretz Yisrael. So he writes over there that which it says in the Navi, right? That Oznav Hachbeit Ve'einav Hasha. The Jews have they don't understand. They're not listening. They're not seeing. Right? The Navi wasn't actually complaining about how the Jews are so unresponsive. It was actually that those words issued the Gzera, that there should be apathy. There should be apathy. Because that's part of what you deserve. When Kfar Nigzor Gzera, so your senses go numb because you don't deserve to have it so easy to do tshuva. You certainly don't deserve it to have the wits about you to run away if Kfar Nigzor Gzera on you. So the mind immediately gets affected, and he has a whole taich that's what this. There's a lot of different midrashim about Rachel Menu's dialogue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then for her, he promised that he will bring the Gula. The others didn't succeed, but she did. And so he has a whole mahalach in the dialogue between Rachel Imenu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lefi one of the midrashim that what Rachel Imenu was even more worried about than the tsaros was us being asleep. You put them asleep. They're in a deep anesthesia. They'll never do tshuva. They'll never. Because you understand, it's part of the. You have to really think about this. This works both ways. Because the Jewish people are very thick-skinned. We've been through a lot. I mean, those guys that forced the CEO of Papa John's to resign, right? They're still kvetching about something that happened to them 100 and some odd years ago, and they want $1 trillion compensation fund for how back their community was. And we got out of the Holocaust, just 60, 70 years ago, and before that, no one feels sorry for us. We also don't feel sorry for ourselves. It's amazingly thick-skinned how we are, right? And so he writes to Ber Maim Chaim. That's it's a double-edged sword. We're put through anesthesia. Otherwise, we would have freaked out long. Any other nation, the Jewish people are bedafka, sort of have it's like anesthesia. It works both ways. So you're asleep, but also being asleep has its advantages. That's how we make it through the tsaros. But Rachel Imenu was most concerned, will we ever wake up and ever do the tshuva? And he says, Ki yesh sachar leful asech. I'm lying on Gemara. Yesh sachar is gematria tefillah. There's a segula in tefillah that you could, even if you start davening at the beginning, you're feeling all dead on the inside, but it has a segula to, toch kadei the davening. You could be ma'ur yourself. You get past the anesthesia that we're under. That's what we're discussing. The base matrix was definitely the midah of connection. Now, the midah of connection is not just intellectual; it's also emotional. And of course, as the Golis wore on and wore on and wore on, the disconnect got worse and worse and worse. All right, so now, just 500 years ago, Rosh Shiva Rakavami used to always say that Maral had a brother, Rav Osher of Regensburg. He had a sefer called Sefer HaZikaron, which is not in print. But he says in that sefer, he asked the following kasha. Can you do there's this whole sugya, both in Bavli and Yerushalmi. Each one has a different shita. You get lost, in your travels. You forget what day is Shabbos. What do you do? Right? How do you cope?
Forward or backward, right?
So Machlos Bavli Yerushalmi, and so whatever the final psak is. So he writes, he just doesn't understand what the Gemara is talking about. So Shabbos comes, you feel it. Well, what's so he writes. Right? Shabbos comes, you feel it. Well, so he says, we have to say that it's possible to not feel Shabbos. Right? That's what the Gemara is machadish to him. Right? It's possible to not feel Shabbos. Right? We're bigger than him. We don't need the Gemara to teach us, right? Right? Right. But that's that meat of being connected, emotionally connected. We have a problem with the kids today. They're not connected. They're not, we explain things, explain things, reduce things, it's not because learning has become too hard. It's we explain. It's still not connected. Right? It's because that's the base of Mikdash is missing. That's the meat of connection. That's the meat of das. And person who's zocher be connected, so it's kilo nivna base of Mikdash biyamav. Right. So that's so now another thing that Chazal tells us about the base of Mikdash, right, is that it's point center. In Chazal's model, the world's round really, right? So you could decide any point is the center, right? Chazal decided, the base of Mikdash is the center of Yerushalayim, which is the center of Eretz Yisrael, which is the center of the globe. That's their picture. Eretz Yisrael is called in. Everywhere else is called chutz la'aretz. Everything else is called on the outside. And base of Mikdash is point center. Right? So, we know that the point center, there's only one center. There's infinite points on a plane, right? But only one center. There can't be two centers. Right? It's an amazing thing, right? And that's, that Nekudas HaMerkaz is connected Hashem Echad, because just like there's only one center, so there's only one God, and there's only Mikam Cho Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz, right? So and that's the Mida connected Mida that it was Nechrav on Sinas Chinam, right? So both the Maral and early, even Rabbeinu Bechaye ben Osher say, what does it mean Sinas Chinam? I'll give you a million reasons why I hate anybody who I hate. It's not very, no one will ever say I hate someone for no reason. Pshat is like this, it goes back to a more basic perception, right? Do you view your fellow Jew as a threat to you? So it's like there's infinite points in the plane, only one center. So now, if you put yourself in the center, everyone's a threat. You might push me out, right? All right. But if you're not in the center, there's room for everybody. It says that's so sinas chinam, which is that's what it means. It's for no custom. You view your fellow Jew as a threat, right? It's because you're putting yourself in the center, and that's already like a mrida and malchus shamayim, right? And that's the Mida Connected Mida, Sinaschim, the Nechrav Habayis, right? Because you have to leave HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the center. Right? And that's, and so losing the base rate is called that the center got poked out of reality. We lost point center. So ever since then, everything, temporarily goes into that slot. And that's the ism that grips the world. Every Meshugas goes, the Pshat al Pisod is it's slipping into that empty slot for a second. It can't last there then until the next Meshugas. And now it's Trump derangement syndrome, right? It's right,
Or Range Rovers, one or the other.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Whatever. And and that's and that's a big tragedy. The point center is missing, but it works the other way. That's why if something happens on Har HaBayis, Bifrat and Eretz Yisrael Bechlal, the whole world gets involved. Because it's point center, so immediately everything, and that's what they say. It's called Eretz Shivas Ha'amamim because those 7 amamim are a concentration of the Shivim Umos. That's 7 Mispar. It's like, that place is point center. And that's why it says Shlomo Melech was able to grow even preliminary. He knew the vein that goes from Eretz Yisrael to India, because Eretz Yisrael is the center. And along that vein, he was able to grow things that can only grow in India. It's that, right?
Really?
Yeah. So, no, it's center of the world. It's the Chorabais means not as a whole in the center of the world, and that's what and that's what allows Mishugasin, to take over the globe, because there's a void there, so somebody could slip into that slot temporarily. All right, so we'll just share one more reflection. The Chazal say, first of all, the Psukim say that the Indian of the base of Mikdash is l'shakein shmo sham. It's always since the beginning of time, right? That's called where God's name rests. The Shekhinah is called Shem Shamayim, right? That's where it rests. L'shakein shmo sham, right? That's where the divine name rests. So Chazal say in the Mishnah of two different Mishnahs say two different things about Shem Shamayim, right? There's a kol kniseya shel Shem Shamayim sofel iskayim, right? And machlokes shel Shem Shamayim sofel iskayim, which are seemingly two opposites, right? And Shem Shamayim does two different pa'ulas, right? Holds things together. Kniseya Shem Shamayim. That's why Am Yisrael, as much as we fight amongst ourselves, we still haven't disbanded. Yeah, we've been dispersed and we fight, and we're still, because we're so Kniseya Shem Shamayim sofel iskayim, right? Whereas another thing, machlokas l'shem shamayim safal iskayim. That's why we're always going to be fighting till the end of the days, right? Like Hillel and Shammai, Shalvai just be l'shem shamayim, right? It makes machlokas and it makes unity. It does both pu'ulas. It's a davar nifla mode, right? That there's two amazing things about the universe, the bria in general, right? First of all, that it holds together. Like Hayam and Adin, that everything should be flying apart, right? So they talk about there's a big mystery in science.
You mean like entropy?
Entropy, and also the universe. It's like it's held together in a stable core.
Oh, like a unifying force.
Yes, they call it dark matter. They call it dark matter because they don't know what it is. That's why I call it dark matter. There's just not enough mass in the universe to generate the gravity that's holding the universe together as one system. See if the universe is expanding, but still, Hayam and Adin should be flying in all directions, in different like crazy. It's a koach of achdus, right? There's a koach of achdus, but there's also a koach of chiluk, because the universe is made up of conflicting forces. And Hayam and Adin, that the universe should, the different conflicting forces should neutralize each other. Everything is in its gvul, and yet everything is in a macro achdus, with everything being in its gvul, right? So that the Maharal explains this, that's what Shem Shamayim, the midah called Shem Shamayim, which is point center. It does two things. So obviously, point center holds everything together, right? And also, but from point center shoot out, radii, that set up gvulas, keep everything. So everything's held together, but everything's also in its gvul. So you can have everything being itself, without neutralizing anything else, right? And still all one place. Amazing. It makes machlokas and it makes achdus in a nice way, that you have diversity and you also have unity. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of course, everything has to be unified to show that Hashem Echad, it all has to be under one king. But also, he has to show off that he could create a lot of different things. It's no kunz, he could just create one thing. He's got to show that he can even create mutually exclusive things. One God, that's called machlokas l'shem shamayim, he wanted to prove he could create anything. So things he would never imagine come from the same source. That's also his godless. He has to show off both things. But you wouldn't know that the machlokas is kind of, if you didn't see the knessia. You have to see one God is showed overall and created all the different things, right? And that's the nakudah that the Beis Hamikdash made. That's what it represented on earth, and that's why you don't have a Beis Hamikdash. There's balagan. That's wars. But we said the mind gets affected. The mind gets affected also. And you don't have, you have crazy ideas of what unity means. You have crazy ideas of where to draw lines. Now they want to abolish gender, right? And the leftists hate any religious person except Arabs. They love Arabs, Muslims, even though those are, biggest womanizers, the biggest, violators of human rights. It's crazy, right? There's, crazy alliances, crazy differences. That's for a lack of Beis Hamikdash on earth. But I want to get into one more point, saying that all the Sfarim are maskim, that the Tzelem Elokim our Tzelem runs parallel to the Beis Hamikdash. And there's many Rishonim hold that if not for Ched Egel, there wouldn't have been a Mishkan, because it would have been for Shachanti B'Socham, literally. Everyone would have been a walking Beis Hamikdash, and this idea that there's a parallel that you could find in the Kuzri, you could find in the letter that attributed to Rambam they wrote to Asar, you could find in the Zohar, the heart is connected the luchas, which are in the oron, and the lungs on top of the heart are like the kruvim on top of the heart. And you could see it, in all the svarim. It's an ancient idea, and the reason why we need a base mesh is because our tzelem is a little bit tainted, so we need a pure space, like the pure prototype tzelem, until we get our tikkun. Right? But it runs parallel to our tzelem. So it means, just like our das was, affected, our tzelem was affected. And of course, it was affected in the most central way of our das. And, and that's our problem, the Shem Shemaim, it holds things together and it keeps things apart in the right way. Right? And that's, a lot of the mental illness, like everyone's got crazy thoughts, it's natural for the mind to just generate thoughts, but you're supposed to have a filter, and you're supposed to have a strong central core that, this is me, and there's a God, and I have to be talking to the world, and your worries that the mind generates, you leave on the periphery, and if there's any legitimacy to the worries, it's in its right place, that's part of the tzelem. Everything's set up, all the different kochos hanefesh in there, right, and you have the central core, of Yesod HaYesodos v'Amud HaChachmos Leida Sheisham Matzui Rishon, like Rambam says, your foundation of all foundation, your pillar of all your wisdoms, your central core is this das, that there's a God, that's your central core, and and anything, the machshavas that and everything's arranged around that. Machshavas that are emes are closer to the core, and machshavas that are crazy, that you can't help it, but you have a filter and you have your internal makeup that the crazy thoughts, you're able to push to the periphery,
Sometimes.
No, that's
Using optimally.
Right. No, so that's what's lacking.
Right.
That's what's lacking. And if and it got increasingly worse, in the last couple hundred years, and it goes together with it came together with the apikorsis of that the man came from monkey, right? Not believing in itself, Elokim. So talk today, so we developed psychology, right? But much of psychology is also the original, Freud. It's all a lot of it is based on apikorsis. Right, as much as some people got help, but it would be better if the problem wouldn't have existed. The problem, got also increasingly worse. So the amount of bracha we got from psychology is quite minimal. L'umas, that it came to the world together with the problem being, so much more increased. Right, because as the Golos wears on, so the having internal seder. So if there was like some, shiraim of it, from when it was based, that shiraim is waning and waning and waning. Right? So we don't have, so even our inner universe, it runs parallel to the macro universe that our songs. So if there's no Beis Hamikdash, that means also in me, I'm lacking Ashras Hashchina. In me, I'm lacking connection. Right? In me, if there's a Bilbul Storim and Amisos and Gols, so also in me, inside of me, everything is mixed up, and my priorities might be straight, or I might feel too strongly about certain things that are shtusim and things that are really important I don't feel strongly enough about. Right? That's all part of it. It's all part of what's the effects. So the problems that the individual has in being connected and having his head on straight, having his values straight. That they're also connected to the Beis Hamikdash. We're our das is on the same frequency as the cosmic das, which is the Beis Hamikdash, and that's what all got disrupted on this day. Right? The 3 weeks is all about it's not about mourning the past. It's because it's not the past. It's the present. It's the problem is here and now. Just if we'd be depressed all year round, we wouldn't get anything done. We don't perform well when we're depressed. So even Litvaks aren't depressed. It's not true. They're emotionally constipated. It's a different, right? It's a different void. You don't make Chidushei Torah when you're depressed. You're not. You can't. you know, no, Am Yisrael doesn't function. We are a very optimistic nation, right? But there's the thing that if it ain't broke, don't fix, right? So you have to have 3 weeks a year where you realize that it's broke, that's broke, right? And that should give you the impetus for the other, 49 weeks of the year to fix, right? That's what we're supposed to think about it. It's not about being depressed. It's about the recognition that it's broke, and we got to do something about it. 3 weeks to recognize it's broke, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Realize it's broke, and that's what we have to take. We have to take the impetus, the determination to try to fix it, increase the midah of das, increase hashras hashchina in the world, do whatever we can to bring the shechina back. All right. Any questions?
Beautiful.
All right. Fine.
Q&A.
Fine.
Q&A.
Fine.
Q&A.
Fine.
Q&A.